Hi everyone, this is Holly from Hot Humble Pie. Welcome to my channel if you're new, and a big warm hello to my subscribers. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I have been taking out so many trays, tiered trays, and risers to decorate for the holidays, and it occurred to me how fun that would be if I put them all in one video so you can make them for the holidays too. And as always, I hope you enjoy the show. For this craft, you're going to need one of those flying disc frisbees from the Dollar Tree and some of the little table tennis ping pong balls. I call them ping pong balls. I don't know why they call them table tennis, but I'm showing you that even though I painted this with the same Rust-Oleum white paint and primer, it was really resistant as far as sticking. It was chipping off really easily, so I did end up having to touch it up, and it was no big deal because for what I'm making this for, it's going to be covered. But I just wanted to let you know that you may want to maybe sand the frisbee a little bit if you want to put things that will bang it around, or put a coat of Mod Podge or a polyacrylic spray, just something to protect it a little bit more. I didn't bother because I didn't need to. And now I'm taking the color in, I believe that is khaki, and I'm just taking it and dry brushing it all over and smearing it on. But this craft ended up coming up so cute. So the first layer I do is the khaki, and then I turn to my favorite burnt umber. You can see it's already ready to go in the bowl there, and I'm going to do some more dry brushing with the burnt umber. But as I dry brush, I'm going to use a tissue and wipe and smear as I go, and I end up getting just a beautiful effect. Watch as I keep going. Doesn't that look pretty? It's too bad those 4 little circles are there. I mean, I'm going to fill it up, and I knew that right when I bought it, so I didn't care. I'm after those designs right there. They are absolutely beautiful. When I dry brush them, they look like a little wooden bowl. I mean, they look so cute, those lines. And I know I'm going to be covering up the inside, so I wasn't too worried about it, but I just thought that paint came up so pretty. Now, if you want to know how I made the faux birchwood right there, there's a separate video for that, and I will link it below in my description box as well as at the end of this video. Just click on it and there's a tutorial how to make that faux birchwood. It looks really amazing. But check out how good that Dollar Tree garland looks when it's flocked with spray paint, you guys. It is a super quick, easy way to dress it up. You can also use a paintbrush and just kind of tap the paint on, but it looks really nice flocked. I'm just filling this up with all natural little florals from the Dollar Tree and the little wood sticks. I'm a big fan of Christmas stuff that brings like the forest inside, nature, because you can't beat that. I mean, in the old days, they didn't have plastic florals. They decorated by bringing the outdoors in, and I just still think that is such a beautiful, fresh, crisp Yuletide look. Anyway, here it is, you guys. I love this craft. For this craft, I used the Rust-Oleum 2x Ultra Cover paint in white gloss. That was really good. I did it in one coat. This is an everyday Dollar Tree plastic tray. It's available at my Dollar Tree all year round. I hope you guys can find it. If not, any plastic tray will work. And that is a free printable that I made, and it's available down below my video in the description box. You just click the link and it will take you right to it. If you're on a PC, click the words that say show more. If you're on a cell phone or a iPad or a tablet type thing, there will be a little gray arrow in the upper right hand corner. Just tap that and the drop down menu will appear, and that's where you'll find a lot of information and my free printables as well. So here I'm creasing it. I originally started with my fingers. I knew it wasn't going to be deep enough, so that end of the sponge brush there, the wood part, because it was round, it didn't have any sharp edges, worked really well. I got a really deep, nice line without any damage to the paper, so I was able to cut a perfect fit. And I'm really excited about this craft, you guys, because when I poured the Mod Podge on and it dried, you literally cannot see the seam of the paper unless you're looking for it. If you know that it's Mod Podged on there or you have a magnifying glass. But it was amazing how, that's one thing I love about Mod Podge, because it has plastic in it, it is really thick. So for whatever reason with this craft, it just disguised the fact that it was paper really, really well. You couldn't see the seams at all, and so that was a pleasant surprise. You'll see it at the end, but it looks really, really good. Now I want to share a little trick here about how to prevent your ink from running when you use Mod Podge. Somebody asked me about that last time. I've never had a problem with it, but I switched out to a cheaper ink. It's not the brand name that comes with my printer, and this time the North Pole ran a little bit, but it was a happy mistake, as Bob Ross would say, because it actually flared out like pink shards. It made it look really magical and kind of like Candyland, like the North Pole, so it was all good. It looked like the cookie sprinkles, so it went perfect. I couldn't have done it any better than that if I had tried with a printer. But you just mist your project, whatever it is, with a little bit of polyacrylic spray, let it dry, and then you're good to go to put your Mod Podge on. I saw this on Pinterest and I fell in love. But here's the funny story. That green lid right there I found at a thrift store. It never came to the Dollar Tree. The glass is from the Dollar Tree, but it never came to my Dollar Tree, those little lids. And I took this wood and the Dremel, believe it or not, I cut circles with a Dremel. I just kind of lift it up and down and stay on the edge. And I used this hammered spray paint by Rust-Oleum. So I started off thinking I'm going to use a really strong glue. I'm going to use Fix-All by Super Glue so that this puppy sticks. So I glue it down. I put something heavy on it overnight. It's totally flat. I glue the glass down using the same glue, and the glass was holding like, you can't get it off. But there's a story coming up with this lid, you guys. I end up putting it outside, spray painting it, and leaving it in the sun for about 8 hours. Now we get really hot sun where I live, but the plastic, I learned later when I try to fix this 3 times and I go to blow dry the paint to dry it, that the heat makes the plastic disengage from the glue. It does something to that plastic. I don't know what it is, but anyway, we'll get back to that. I go about galvanizing it using pewter gray and pavement by Apple Barrel and a makeup sponge. And the magic trick to getting your galvanizing looking good after you apply all those little amoeba shapes is you just use a iridescent silver paint and tap on a generous layer with a sponge like you see me doing there, and you make sure all of it is covered with the iridescent silver paint, and you will get such a beautiful result. Wait and see. It looks so legitimate and it's so simple to do. So as I'm blow drying this, I'm thinking, I waited too long to stumble on this lid. I am not settling for any kind of buckling or bubbling. And so I tear it off and I go, what the heck is going on under here? And look, the glue almost looks burned from being in the sun. Look at that, it looks fried. It just turned weird. And I don't know what happened under there. I guess I cooked the glue, but the fix to this for me was to remove all the glue, sand it, get some poster board, glue the poster board on top of the wood, and then use Mod Podge to glue the plastic lid on top of the poster board that was glued to the wood. And then I put some very heavy weights with flat wood. I put a flat wood piece down and some 2 5-pound weights on top, and it turned out perfect. This ends up being my favorite DIY, you guys, but it's a funny story because this was definitely a pain. And for those of you that watched my first series last week, I showed you this little pink piece here, hoping you guys could get it, because we are going to be making a tiered tray. This one's going to go in my bedroom, and I have always wanted the one I am making right now. So I start off with painting it with that latex paint that I used on the pizza pan, that ultra matte dry primer, stick on any surface paint. And this is Crackle medium. Now this is what I've always wanted. I love that crackling effect. I've never worked with Crackle medium. This is my first time, you guys, so bear with me here. I'm actually nervous when I'm doing this because I'm so worried I'm going to mess it up. And the centerpiece I spray painted with black primer. I did not use the brush one, but it's fine. It all worked really good. So it says wait an hour, let it dry, and then paint. And I'm panicking because I want to stay within that hour, so I put the paint on too thick because I remember hearing some crafter on YouTube saying whatever you do, don't go over it twice. I did go over it twice. I'm guilty in a couple places. It didn't ruin it, but I recommend you don't go over it twice as well. And I also recommend you don't use chalk paint. It's too thick. If I had to do it again, I would have just used regular old thin acrylic paint and kept it nice and light. And so I want the center to be heavier. And I decided to fill that container full of pinto beans. I also want my tiered tray to be 2 tiers this time, not 3. I just want it to be a little bit more versatile. So if you want yours shorter, you can take a sharp utility knife and cut that centerpiece down. But I do think this beats the wooden handle from the toilet plunger and the glass candlestick holders that you have to glue upside down on each other. That just seemed a little structurally unsound and it made me nervous, so I never wanted to do that even though it looks gorgeous. But I'm using E6000, a little bit of hot glue, pressing it down, and it comes out absolutely gorgeous. For this do-it-yourself, I used the plastic bowl from the Dollar Tree, 3 candle holders, Walmart picks, some Dollar Tree pine, some of their tea lights, and that's it. And I start off again painting my plastic plate with some chalk paint, white. We're kind of sticking with white here because it's a winter DIY. I love to celebrate the natural colors of what happens in winter. So you might see the red berries, pine cones, snow. There isn't a whole lot of color in winter, but there's a beauty in that neutral color too. I love that. And I use fairy lights usually too. So it's a nice transition again from losing all of that sparkle at Christmas to moving into the winter and still feeling really cheerful in the process. So, and then from here, my mantle will eventually turn into Valentine's Day decor as well. But for those of you that don't decorate for Valentine's Day, and I know there's a lot of you, This is a great transition into the winter season to add a lot of sparkle and beauty to your home. So I just start off, as you saw, by putting the glass candles down where I want them. And I chose the ones with the silver too, because that's also very perfect, in my opinion, for winter, because winter's gray. So I don't really like gray unless it's a sweater, but it picks up that whole feeling, I guess, with the sparkle. And I just used Dollar Tree pine there to fill in most of it, to give it bulk and cover up most of the white, because that's literally just a filler. What's going to lay on top is the more classy and expensive looking pine picks that I got from Walmart. Again, 97 cents. I lay those on top. I just cut them, as you can see, and made a nice decorative little bowl there. Taking regular old table salt and putting it inside my candle holders to hold the tea lights. Now that is great. If some wax spills over, you can just dump it all out, and it also kind of imitates snow. And I think this came up so elegant. This craft, you're going to need one of those cheap plastic trays. You can find them at any discount store. This is from the Dollar Tree. And a gift bag of your choosing, or an image from online. I love this gift bag, and I went ahead and took it outside and gave it a coat of this metallic spray in aluminum. The color's aluminum. You can use any metallic spray of your choice, but it's just to give the tray the initial metal look. So I went ahead and I glued the image down, and then to kind of soften up the edges, the border on this, I'm going to give it a nice little sponging of like snow around the edges, because I wanted it to kind of look like it was sitting in winter snow. I just love that look. And now I'm taking the same makeup sponge, and I'm using the color Pewter Gray from Apple Barrel Paint, and I'm going to go ahead and sponge that all over this tray as well, and that's what you end up with. And then take your totally tweaked brush. I love tweaked brushes. This is what I flocked with on my last video last week. I love this. I just dipped it in some black paint, and that's going to give me my little amoeba shapes everywhere for the black paint. And now I'm taking some metallic paint that you can use in any brand. Again, it's like an iridescent silver, and you're going to want to cover the entire thing with the iridescent silver, and that will give you a nice galvanized finish. Right there, you can see it comes up really, really nice. This is a fast way to get a galvanized look when you just kind of want to throw out some quick holiday decor and you're crafting a lot. This works fine. And now I'm taking a sponge, and I'm taking some black paint, and I'm just going to go around the edges and chip this baby up a little bit, because my decor is very rustic and distressed, so everything kind of has to look old. So you're going to see me take this sponge and also add some chips. You just kind of blot it on there like that. And it's not hard to do, you guys. This actually is amazingly easy once you get the feel for it. And now I'm just going to go ahead and add some faux rust using the color Nutmeg from Apple Barrel Paint again. And you can see what I'm doing. I'm just painting around the outer edges of each of the chips, and I'm just picking random ones. You kind of do this one by eye, and you use your finger, you smear it a little bit, and it creates a really beautiful illusion of rusting on the metal. So I step back, look at this. I decide that it needs a little bit more chipping on the actual, center part of the tray. I didn't feel like I had enough. It looked like it was brand new in the middle and just old around the edges. So I'm doing that now. I'm just adding some little scrapes and chips in the center and some more rusting. And that's it. It's a lot of fun to do this. I love doing galvanized aged metal. That's one of my favorite techniques to do. And this is a really easy way to do it. So here I'm taking the nautical rope from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to go around and glue it in that little seam there on the tray and give it a nice border. Now, for those of you that don't have any nautical rope, another option is just to take black paint, use the edge of your sponge, and just tap really tiny, like razor thin lines of black paint around that crease there and add a little bit of rust here and there as well, and that would have been really pretty. I just wanted it, there's something about that nautical rope that really ups the ante to make it look farmhouse and rustic. I don't know, it would have looked good either way. So last step, it's a Mod Podge in matte. The matte has a little bit of a sheen, and I think it works really well to kind of imitate metal. The gloss is probably a little too shiny. I'd save that when you want to do the shinier metals like enamel or something, but for this kind of metal, a galvanized one, I'm sure a lot of you have seen it in real life. It's not super shiny, but I love this. I plan on keeping it and storing it, so here it is, you guys. For this craft, I'm going to use a smaller stovetop cover, some of those little macarachi beads, and a little terracotta plant pot. Now, that wasn't from the Dollar Tree, but I have seen both large and small terracotta pots come out during summer, so you can keep your eye open, or you can substitute that with something else. It doesn't have to be terracotta, it could be a plastic one, but just a little bottom for this. And we start by spray painting those two items white. I did spray paint the beads, but I didn't have great luck with coverage and I didn't want to waste any more paint, so I brought them in and you saw me painting them white the rest of the way as well. Now, to make sure this bottom sticks to the top, I'm adding some masking tape, and that's always worked for me. If you guys want to try and do it with a super glue, you can. I tend to make, I craft a lot for fun. It's a hobby, so a lot of things get given away after a while because I want to make new things and I have to make room for them. So this doesn't really have to last more than maybe 2 or 3 years, and then I might be moving it on, or maybe even taking it apart to use it for another craft that's on trend that I want. Some things I keep forever, but like all crafters, if you're crafting like 300 crafts a year, you realistically do not have room for all of that in your house. So you got to get creative. You give it away. I don't really sell anything, but anyway, you can see what I did there. I took some hot glue, stuck those beads on, and again, I was shocked. They stuck really hard on there because when I went to try and remove them, I realized I really couldn't, and that was just on the paint. So I did spray it with the Rust-Oleum White Primer Matte. This is my to-go-to paint that I use for spray paint. I never buy regular paint in black or white. It is always primer, and it's actually called flat. Flat is matte. That rhymes. But essentially, it's just a paint that guarantees a little bit more adhesion than just regular spray paint, so it gives you a lot more options as far as what surfaces you want to cover with spray paint. Now, if you watched my Halloween video, I showed you how to take a plastic tray, well, it could be any material, but I showed you how to do really realistic faux wood grain using 4 colors. And it occurred to me after that video that so far I've shown you how to do wood grain if you paint white first and then use that water-based acrylic stain. I also mentioned wax. I've seen creators do the antique wax that also works beautiful for grain. But it occurred to me some of you may not have that much arsenal in your craft supplies, and it would be nice to show you how you can also make wood grain using just 1 color. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to be using Territorial Beige from Apple Barrel Paint, and as you saw, I did 1 coat of super dry brushing. That was it. Now I'm taking a baby wipe and I am touching it feather light, like barely touch it. Just go over it until you see it kind of smearing and staining your surfaces, just like you see here on the camera. And I'm going to add a little bit more on the bottom, and because it's slimy, I notice it just kind of does a beautiful smear on its own with my paintbrush. So first you do 1 dry brush, then you do the wipe where you just smear it a bit, then you go over it with another dry brush, then you do the wipe, and then a final dry brush. And this is what you end up with, you guys. And it's a beautiful color of faux wood. It's very three-dimensional, even though you only used one color. Now the trick is to make sure though that that paint you put on is dry when you're dry brushing. Don't put it on too wet. It needs to be dry, and you're feather light with the wipe over it. But look at this. I made this for my farmhouse hutch. It's in there right now. It's holding a Christmas tray, and it is so beautiful. This is a Pinterest find. It's my inspiration piece. It's that tray, you guys. I saw this tray. I absolutely fell in love with the colors and the energy of it. So we're going to try and recreate the energy here with another tray. This is a tray I got from the 99-cent only store for 99 cents, but the Dollar Tree certainly has plenty of trays you can use. And I took it outside. I gave it one coat of white primer by Rust-Oleum spray paint. And now I'm using Granite Gray by Apple Barrel Paint. This is a gray that I use because it almost looks like a blue gray. Now I do end up using a little bit of blue just to kick up the blue vibes a bit more when I'm working on distressing this, but we start off with the Granite Gray. Now I'm using the Dollar Tree wood pieces right there because they're going to make perfect little rustic legs for this tray. I don't have the ability to recreate the kind of legs the original tray had, but I definitely like that it was a riser type tray. So I'm using these little wooden pieces, and I went through a whole bunch of them, found even ones, and they worked perfect. It's actually completely level. It doesn't wobble at all. So that's nice to know. If you guys have access to those wooden pieces, you can use them for little feet, and they're great for rustic decor. Thank you to my subscriber who sent these to me I think she sent them to me before fall, and I'm kind of milking them because I'm trying not to use too many. I'm really taking my time because I absolutely love those little wood pieces, and I haven't been able to find them in any of my Dollar Trees, and I'm almost wondering if it's because it's the kind of wood. Maybe it's not allowed in my state. I don't know, but they're not selling them in my Dollar Tree. So you saw me take some black there and just go over with a dry brush, and now I'm using antique white from Apple Barrel to do another dry brush, and of course my favorite, burnt umber. We're going to use a little bit of that. I'm using a combination of colors, and I just keep working with this tray and working with it until I get the look I like. I will give you a breakdown of the colors in the order that I used them. My first color, and they're all Apple Barrel paints, was Granite Gray. Second color was black. Third color was antique white. And my fourth color was burnt umber, and then I'll add a little bit of baby blue in there. You can see it right there, just to kick up the blue a bit. That was not Apple Barrel, actually. That was just an old paint, but any baby blue would work, and you don't have to do that. That's optional. And now I'm just adding some black into the curves there to try and create an illusion of a bit more depth. And we're going to continue with more dry brushing, more smearing, and just more, working on this tray until we get it where we want it to be. So I'm adding some more black, and then when the surface is a little wet there from the sponge, I take advantage of that and I add the baby blue to kind of give it more of a blue haze all over it. And of course, to make up for the fact that I don't have those awesome legs on the original tray, you're going to see me use some awesome stencils. I have some beautiful stencils another lovely subscriber sent me. She said she got it from Dollar General, but someone came on and said she also saw these at the Dollar Tree, and they are perfect for French country. and it just gave it such a beautiful French country accent. But you'll have to let me know in the comments if I failed it or nailed it. I love this tray. For this next DIY, you're going to need that domino game from the Dollar Tree, one of their plastic trays, and this free printable that I designed. It'll be down below in my description box. You can use any printable you want, but if you want that one, it will be down below in my description box. And you start off by drawing a design for a leg. So we're making little legs for our tray here, you guys. I was so excited to share this with you all because this really is a game changer for Dollar Tree faux trays with the legs, because we always just kind of try and find something we can glue on from the Dollar Tree, like the ping pong balls or the pot of gold leprechaun little legs or wooden cubes or wooden beads. But this takes it to another level because you can make wooden legs pretty much however you want. You just trace out the shape and then you cut it out, because as you can see, it was easy enough to cut, and then you're going to put it together. So you do have to sand a little bit because it does splinter, and also remember to draw the design on the wood side and on the printed side with the polka dots, because you're going to need them to be on either corner. You'll see, but just trust me, you have to do one of each so that you have the reverse leg on the reverse side. And I'm just measuring here, you know, to get my little print in there. And here I go gluing the legs down. So you just have to carefully line them up along the edge of the tray. And this is why it's important that you draw the design on the wood side and on the dotted side, because you're doing it in opposite angles. And then you put your strip of hot glue. I would actually recommend using a stronger glue like hot wood glue. Well, I call it hot wood glue, but the link down below in my description box, if you go check out the glue I use for that, it claims to glue metal, glass, everything. So I just recommend you use a stronger hot glue for this project. And then I also put a little bit of glue right where the angle met there. And as it dries, I move up and do it to the top as well, because when you paint it, that's going to make it look like one solid piece. So it just looks, or you could use wood filler too if you wanted to, but it comes out really good. And I want this tray to be warmer because it is an autumn tray. So I chose to use the color Territorial Beige from Apple Barrel Paint to distress it just a little bit. I'm not trying to make it look like wood, more like painted wood, maybe, or just distressed a little bit, maybe chipped a little bit, the paint chipping off. But if I just get a distressed look, that's fine too. And I took a little Mod Podge. I'm going to now glue down my print with the Mod Podge. So after I get the print glued on, I'm going to take my homemade white chalk paint and paint those little legs. Now watch what happens when I paint up towards the right hand corner where the hole is. See how it disappears? That's because I put the hot glue on the inside seam there, and it, you know, rolled up and melted into that hole and behaves like a wood filler and makes your legs look more connected and nice. And now after it dries, I'm just taking some of the Apple Barrel paint again in Territorial Beige and distressing it. To me, this part's important. I always take the darker color and make sure I put it in the seams, because with an old tray, those are the parts that would get dirty and kind of collect dust over time, and it just makes it look to me, it adds a little more realism, in my opinion. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just adding the darker color around the edges, and that's it. And I love this. For this DIY, I'm using 2 glass bowls from the Dollar Tree, and that candlestick is actually from the Dollar Tree too. I got that when it very first opened up in my area. They don't carry the tall candlesticks anymore, and if you can't find that, go ahead and use 2 small ones and glue them upside down onto each other. Now for this DIY, I definitely want it to stay put, and I chose to glue the candlestick upside down. So I'm using E6000 for a super strong hold on this, and I do let it dry overnight before I go out and spray paint it. So I don't know about you all, but when these things are not centered, they drive me nuts. I'm going to stand up in a minute so I don't get my head in the camera, and you can see me making sure that it's centered. But when it dries overnight, I take it outside and I give it a coat of this Rust-Oleum chalk paint in chiffon cream, really beautiful color, and I spray paint it upside down. So I'm showing you here when I'm rubbing my hand that there's no paint inside the bowls. Now the problem I ran into, I didn't want to take a chance. You know, I want it to be versatile in my kitchen, and if I want to store some oranges down at the bottom level or some bananas, I didn't want to worry about any toxicity issues. Even, you know, I still would stick with the thick skinned fruit at the bottom just to be, you know, sure. But because of that, I chose to do the center in a non-toxic acrylic paint. So this is the color Antique Parchment from Apple Barrel Paint. It is a non-toxic acrylic paint, so it will be fine for the food to lean against. I'm not even going to seal the center because I don't want to have to worry. If you want, you can look into different sealants that are food safe. There's a lot of information online about that. I do end up having to add a little bit of white to this paint just to get a perfect match, because when it dries it goes a little dark. But the edging in the Dollar Tree bowls in the glass is absolutely gorgeous. It is so high end, and it is so perfect for cottagecore DIY home decor. This is a pretty regular tray, I think, that's carried at most Dollar Trees. Even the ones that aren't that great, they tend to carry those cheap plastic trays. And if you can't get this exact one, there's usually either the metal fake shiny ones, or there's some kind of plastic tray you can buy there usually. And this is one of the items that I took out to spray paint black, and I just did a very light coat. I wasn't concerned if it wasn't covered really heavy because we're going to be painting this to look like faux wood. So first I do the black paint because I love black when you're doing faux wood. In fact, I don't ever think I've shown you how to do this. I've talked about it a lot in my earlier videos, how I love black for when you're making the faux wood, because it gives it a depth that if you don't do it, I don't know, I've done it both ways and it seems like it's missing something. Like you can tell it's just paint splattered on, but when you do black first and then you go from there and you start adding your browns. I'm working here with first white, then burnt umber, and then territorial beige, and those are all the colors that I use. And I'm doing such a soft dry brushing. I mean, there's hardly any paint on my brush at all. In fact, when I'm done, the whole tray almost feels like super shiny and waxy because there's such thin layers, multiple layers of super, super, super thin paint that, and you can see me there using a Kleenex. I'm wiping it as well because when you wipe it, you also get that real kind of blended smooth look. Anyway, this is how I go about making a faux wood if I'm just doing paint only. No stains, you know, no baby wipes, just the well, it's another method, but I think it's a little harder. But it does work, and it does come out looking really, really pretty when you're done. So I just wanted to show you guys how I do this. It's in fast motion, but it took me about 15 minutes. I mean, you do have to take your time because you're just adding such little paint each time you add a layer on, and you just keep playing with it, you know, look at it. It's all by eye, really. You're getting it to where you like it, you know, with every craft, because woods come in all different shades and colors. But actually, I'm really wanting to show you up close what kind of grain you get when you're using just paint. And you know what? Look at that. That's not too bad. Nobody would be able to tell if they came in your home and saw that in your entryway that that's not real wood. Saw this on Pinterest, fell in love, wanted to make one, whipped out my power tools. Just use more of that super thick sign wood and the $1.18 Home Depot furring strip. So just using my wood glue and hot glue to tack this little chair together. I'm gluing it on the back of the chair. So here's where I messed up. So if you guys make this chair, and I recommend that you do because it's so cute, leave that back piece that you see right there where I have to glue it together. I should have left that in one piece, but I was thinking, oh, a chair has 4 legs, so I cut 4 legs, but duh, that was a boo-boo. So first glue the back strip on and then measure what you need for the front leg, because I end up having to reinforce the back with a craft stick, which is no big deal because no one's going to see the back because I have it down at the bottom of my ladder. And mistake number 2, I glue it with the holes in the front. There's no holes on the other side, and oh, I don't know what I was thinking. I didn't notice that. But once you get that wood glue down with the hot glue, it will be more problematic to try and move it, and I knew that. So I decided, go ahead and fill it with spackling, sand it down. You won't notice it when it's stained, and you don't. And it ended up being an easier route. And here, I wait 24 hours for everything to dry because this front piece is a very tight fit, and it does put counter pressure on the 2 front legs. I bought this stain through Amazon because it was a non-odor water-based acrylic stain, and I thought it would have a little bit of that glide factor, but nope. It's equivalent to watered down acrylic paint. I add a little bit of black to it. It's also black walnut, not the black walnut that we think of with Minwax. It's a little more reddish. I love the color it comes out to be when I mix it with the black paint, but I do end up having to apply it with a baby wipe to get the glide factor. And, you know, I'm not going to recommend it because I think it's equal to paint. But if you're interested, I do leave it in a link down below in my description box because a lot of people on Amazon do give it a 5-star review. So you might want to go check it out. But this craft, without a doubt, hands down, is the cutest craft I have ever made. It actually brings me joy when I look at it. I feel joy. It is so cute. this next DIY, you're going to need this Dollar Tree tray, which I was lucky enough to find on my last Shop With Me video. I was so excited because these don't often come to my Dollar Tree. And I also bought some of these plastic, I guess they're Christmas little buildings there for a village, and I found the bottle brush larger trees, and I bought 2 in green and 1 package in white. Was so excited about that too. That was a final shipment at my Dollar Tree for Christmas, so it pays to go back and check because they were a little late this year, and if you don't find it on the first round, you can often find it on the second round. So I'm just taking some of my chalk paint and giving this tray 1 coat of white paint. And then you're going to take some good old-fashioned baking soda while your paint is still wet and go ahead and give it a generous sprinkle. Now, this is a high-end dupe. I mean, I've seen this kind of craft before in higher-end stores, and I really wanted to try doing it myself. Baking soda looks just like real snow. I kid you not, you guys. It was amazing. Wait till you see when I hold it up. I mean, it looks like real snow. So if you're after the look of actual snow, this is the perfect trick. Next, I'm going to go ahead and take each one of those little plastic buildings and give them 1 coat of white chalk paint. And now to set my little winter village up, I go ahead and place the 3 buildings down on top of the tray. I organize my trees where I want them, add a little greenery, some white berries, pine. You can add anything you want. You're just making a little winter scene in a winter village. It makes a perfect centerpiece for a table, on a farmhouse console table, a shelf. I absolutely love the way this came out. For this next DIY, you're going to need one of these little flower, they call them a funeral cup, I think, and these cake pans. But I have seen those little flower cups used for weddings as well. So you just stab them in the ground and they hold flowers. And you're going to take that little pokey stab thing and just cut it off. It came off super easy, as you could see. And then I'm just sanding it here a little bit, not with super rough sandpaper. And again, it sands down real easy just to make the surface flat. And we're going to be making a 2-tiered Christmas tray. I just thought this center, when I saw it, I knew immediately that this would make such a cute faux wood center for a tiered tray. So that's what we're doing. And both these things, I believe, are everyday Dollar Tree items. Pretty much, I think, at every Dollar Tree, I hope. I mean, I shouldn't say every, because there's probably one hole-in-the-wall Dollar Tree that doesn't have this, but I go to like 6 different Dollar Trees within my vicinity in either direction, and they all have these. And anyways, I'm just taking some really strong super glue adhesive gel type glue and gluing it down because I want this to stay. And I'm using a little bit of hot glue here to make sure it gets a hold immediately to help tack it down. And also, I wanted to tell you guys now, Jackie and I are actually using the same identical 4 Dollar Tree items, so there's going to be a total of 8 ideas to do with these items when you watch both videos. And I am so excited, you guys. I can't wait to see what she did with the same 4 items. What I'm doing here is I've just been making sure that it's got a nice smooth surface and it's dry enough to take it out and spray paint it. Now, after I spray painted it, I just didn't like it. It looked too much like a factory application. It was too smooth. I needed those lines in there because I want this to look like it's got a little bit of wood grain. I'm going for that rustic farmhouse look. So I go ahead and give it a second coat of the Kilz primer, K-I-L-Z. And now I'm going to use some red and do some candy cane little stripes in the center here. I'm just taking a little bit of the red paint there. You saw what I did. I made the edge look like faux enamel, and now I'm going to dry brush some white paint over the center so it looks more distressed, you know, more like wood. And this is going to be on my kitchen counter. It's next to the canister that I made last week that I also did the red enamel on, and it said Christmas Tree Farm because they're very complementary to each other. They're going to look so cute. They're sitting on top of a wooden breadboard, and I'm going to put my 3 ingredients in a pretty container at the bottom and then put holiday decor on the top, and I love the way this came out so much. Saw this on Pinterest last year and I absolutely loved the concept, so I decided to make one of my own. I went to Home Depot and I bought 2 of these and 2 of these, and then I cut them. So I cut 5 12 by 12s of the bigger strips and the matching edges, and 4 10 by 10s of the bigger strips, and of course the matching edges. For the edges, you will need to make subtle changes as you go, and so I won't be able to give you exact measurements for that. You're going to have to measure as you go to make it fit your piece. This is a table leg. My son had 3 extra ones from some project that he did, and he asked me if I wanted them, and I said, oh my gosh, yes. But I have a surprise today. I'm going to be giving one of them away in a giveaway. So if you're interested in winning one of these, go ahead and put the word tray somewhere in your comment, or you can just comment tray, either way. And I will be announcing the winner in Sunday's next video, so stay tuned for that. If you don't have one of those little chair legs, wooden candlesticks that you find at the thrift store all the time, even glass ones if you're going to paint your tray, would be an absolute perfect substitute. This is me putting a hot wood glue stick into my glue gun, and this is the one I use. It's down below in my description box. There's a link to it, and it is amazing. I think it holds better than nails, and it's certainly a lot easier than screws, which sometimes go sideways and out of the wood and you can see it. But for this project, it works perfectly. I made a mistake on one of the pieces and I tried to pull it apart. Then I asked my husband to try and pull it apart just to test it, and he couldn't. It is there for good. So go slow, make sure that you have everything straight and even, because if you don't, chances are you're going to have to recut wood. Same thing when you come to gluing the edges on your project. Make sure the glue is at the bottom part of your strips so that it doesn't ooze out and show at the top. It does have a yellow tint just like the cold wood glue, which by the way, you can also use cold wood glue if you have heavy items that you can put on either side to squeeze it together like my hands are right now so that it stays tight, and while it dries, go ahead and use the wet cold wood glue. Before you put the final edges on it, be sure to go ahead and mark your center where you're going to want to put your centerpiece. If you put your edges on, it's going to be harder to do that because the ruler won't lay flat. I mean, you can still do it, it just makes it a little bit more challenging. I liked to glue from the left and the right side, so I measured it. I don't know if you noticed I turned my tray. I measured it when it was turned, but when it came to gluing, I found it easier to go, have the pieces I needed to glue on the left and the right hand side. You can do whatever works for you. And now I'm just going to repeat the exact same steps for the top tray. I also did not want the top tray to be like a cookie cutter version of the bottom tray, so I deliberately made the edges, like the longer part of the edge, go on the vertical part of the strips here that I'm gluing together, and then on the other one, down below, the bottom one, I did the exact opposite. If you want yours to be looking the same from the side, where you don't have any seams on one side and then seams on the other side on the top and bottom, make sure you pay attention to that as well. Next, I took my Ryobi cordless drill, and I'm just drilling a hole in the center where I had marked with pencil previously. There is a screw on the bottom of this chair leg, so you do have to press down and screw it into the wood, so the hole needs to be just a little bit smaller than the screw, and you get a nice tight fit that won't move. I also pre-marked the top of the bottom of the top tray so that I knew where the center point was as well. But even with doing that, when the glue is still liquidy, you'll see me, I'm start turning the tray around here because I keep rotating it and moving it to make sure that it's perfectly even from all four corner views. I like mine better without wooden feet. If you want to add some, you certainly can, but this is how it came out and I absolutely love it. So here's the craft sticks, and I chose to use the bottom of a See's chocolate box. That's because they're super sturdy, you guys. For those of you that try See's chocolate, you guys know what I'm talking about. You can use any box you want, and this is also going out to those people who ask me what to do with their extra boxes, because we are getting a lot of Amazon boxes and smaller boxes and just containers in general, because a lot of us are shopping online. So here's another idea, and of course you can always up it and use painter sticks or shims to cover it. Same principle applies, it's just on a larger scale. So I'm just measuring and cutting up my sticks, and I'm going to glue them in there just using hot glue, and I'm going to cover this entire box with wood so that we end up with a wooden box. Here's the water acrylic stain again that I used in my previous DIY, and this DIY I actually did first before that DIY in real life, but this is how I discovered that stain goes on super dark, which is why I watered it down last time. So we're just going to cover up this entire tray here with the stain and let it dry before we move on to the next step. And here's how it comes out, you guys. I was inspired by this Pier 1 wood bead charger, and I've got some free wood. Now, if you missed how to get the free wood, it's in my very first video I uploaded on YouTube. And I took my jigsaw and cut a circle, and it doesn't have to be a perfect circle because we're not going to be seeing that edge. And then I took my handy dandy Ryobi sander, which I highly recommend you get, and I sanded it smooth. And here's the free wood and the free beads. And if you missed the video on how to make free beads, I'm going to leave it in the description box as well. Today we're using apple barrel paint in antique parchment, and we're just going to add a little water to it to make like a whitewash. I'm aiming to get that wood a little less orange. Now the first step I have to do is to try and get this piece of wood to match the beads. So that's what I'm doing right now. Now I'm using a whitewash type approach because I don't want to lose that beautiful wood grain. Now here I am matching the bead, and you can see it's not quite light enough, so we're going to go for a second coat. And we are looking good. And here I am using E6000 on wood, and I feel the need to explain myself because those of you who have been watching my videos know that I told you in the first video E6000 doesn't work on raw wood, it soaks into it. But I don't have anything else in the house, so I was desperately hoping that that little whitewash would work some miracle, but yeah, no, it didn't. These little puppies fell off, and in the end, hot glue worked just fine. So if you have nothing else, hot glue's fine. If you have something like super glue, gel, or something else along that line, and you want it to be really durable, I would try that instead. Now the Pier 1 plate or wooden charger it's elevated off the ground a little bit. So to accomplish this, because I like that feature, I'm going to use a wine cork. Even though I don't drink wine, I have this surplus of wine corks because family members bring it over for every holiday. So here I'm just adding just a little bit of height. I cut the wine cork. They're easy to do if you have a utility knife. It's easy to cut. Now I'm not going to bother rattling off these colors here. If you want, you can pause it, but any colors in more or less that range works perfect. You don't have to be super, picky about matching the identical colors I used. I will say, surprisingly though, that kayaki color, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, K-H-A-K-I, turns out to be the color that gives it a nice, subtle, golden brown hue. I don't know if it's even golden, but it definitely is the color that exactly what I wanted, and it didn't look like it was going to be in the bottle. So I end up adding some water to it and using it as another wash as soon as I do I do the beads first. And here I go. There I am. I'm using it as a wash, and I have to do that twice as well. But I use it as a wash to make it nice and golden, and then we get a really pretty result. I decide to dry brush the light antique parchment color on just to make it look a little more rustic because that's the theme in my home. And here I am, I'm just painting in between the little beads so there's no peekaboo areas. And here we go. It's done. You're going to need this wood here, and we're going to cut it. Here I am taking wood glue. I've spoken about this many times in videos. Wood glue has the ability to hold raw wood together at a molecular structure so that it becomes one with the wood. Like if you try to pull this apart once it's fully dry and cured, the wood will often break off with the glue because it's that strong. So even though I'm going to put these handles down on either side and hold it together that way, and I'm going to go ahead and you'll see me use a nail gun in a minute, I'm still gluing the planks at the bottom together just for extra stability, I guess, and strength so that this tray holds together. So you can use hot glue at this point if you want. I didn't. I just went with the wet glue because I didn't want it to raise up in any levels. I was a little nervous about that. I wanted it really, really flat, and I wanted time to reposition things if necessary. That's the one good thing about wet glues, you guys. I don't know how many of you have used hot glue before and then glued something down and went, uh-oh, that's not straight, or that's not where I want it, and you have to tear it apart and you actually damage your craft. So there's definitely pluses to waiting it out and letting things dry, because you get, you know, some time to move it around. And I obviously cheated a little bit there because I was using the nail gun, which kind of works like a hot glue. It holds it, you know, right away so I could paint. Now I'm just using the paint called Craft Smart. I bought it on a whim from Michael's. It's really impressive. It's a one-coat acrylic paint, a lot cheaper than Waverly chalk paint. It dries super matte, looking like chalk paint. A lot of people don't realize that the Waverly chalk paint is just acrylic paint with the additives in, like calcium carbonate and different chemicals so that it doesn't clump. It is not like Rust-Oleum chalk paint. So if you find a good acrylic paint, go for it. Now here's a free printable down below in my description box. I broke it up in 3 different strips for those of you that want to create the tray, and then I'm going to upload the one that is just all together in case somebody just wants to make a sign, a cute little, this would make a great little sign with a frame around it. But I found it too difficult to get each word big enough for the planks. You had to make them different sizes on my printer, and I'm guessing you guys are going to run into the same problems, so I'm going to upload those separately for you just in case. So I tried the pencil trick, you guys, and it just didn't come out dark enough, so I resorted to my carbon paper, and that worked out great. The top one I did trace over a little bit with the pencil afterwards just to make it darker, but it was going to be way too hard to do the whole thing with pencil. And I'm just tracing these words down the board, and then I'm going to use a combination of a fine tipped Sharpie, a thick tipped Sharpie, and black paint to fill these in. And I love this. So most of us have probably seen this little farmhouse console table at some point, and I thought, wouldn't it be cute if I was to make one? So I'm going to be using those 1-gallon paint sticks and some regular 1-gallon paint sticks with a little curve on it, and some 5-gallon paint sticks, some 1-quart paint sticks, also known as large craft sticks. And I started off, because now I'm running short of paint sticks, I started off using these shims that I got from Lowe's, and somebody came on, thank you so much, a long time ago, a subscriber came on and said, hey, if you glue those together in the opposite direction, it'll make like a perfect little paint stick. It takes the place of that. So again, same width as the 1-gallon paint stick. It's just I'm using my shims because I don't want to run short just for the bottom of this craft. I'm also using some of the furring strip there because I bought 20 of them, you guys. They're cheap. They're such a good deal. Now, if you don't have a furring strip, no problem. Just glue 3 of the, if you want it to be the same thickness, it's 3 of the 5-gallon paint sticks. Just glue them together like I glued the shims together. If you don't want them that thick, you can glue 2 and probably get away with it. But we're making the little legs, and since I had the furring strip, I want to use what I have, but everything can be made with paint sticks. And of course, I'm just measuring now. And at the final end of this, I will give you the measurements of my little console table. Now, this takes a place like anything else, a one-tiered tray, a riser, even a two-tier tray. This is a place to hold your little trinkets, your little fun, any miniatures that you make, anything inside. It can hold some of your craft supplies. It can hold spices in a kitchen. Oh my gosh, this would make such a cute spice rack just for those spices that you use all the time. You know, I have some that I hardly ever reach for, but there's some I reach for all the time, and this is perfect for that. Now, there's a little trick I was doing. I took those 1 gallon little craft sticks, or 1 gallon paint sticks. Oh no, I'm sorry, they're 1 quart paint. They're for epoxies and stuff. That's what they are, but we call them large craft sticks. And I measured them by picking them up and like putting one over the other until I could count how many I needed and place them out evenly. I just needed to know how many I needed to cut. So if you need to rewind that, go ahead, but that's a great way for figuring out how many you need to cut ahead of time. And then I just took some hot glue. Everything's going to be secured with wood glue underneath as well, but I took hot glue initially on high, on a high setting, so it's a hot temperature, high setting hot glue. And I'm using that to put this all together initially. And on the top, I didn't cut those down at all. Those are the full 1 gallon paint stir sticks that I have that don't have that little curvature on the end. If you have that curve on the end, you'd have to modify the measurements on this. But this was such a cute idea, you guys. I was so excited when I thought of this. I've been wanting to do it for about 8 months, but then the holidays came and I didn't have time. But I have been wanting one of these for so long. This is another one of those crafts. When I was done, it brought me joy. I looked at this and just thought, oh my gosh, you are cute. You are so cute. So I do on the sides at the bottom put, a side piece, as you saw. Here in the front, I just do the front and the back. I kind of like the way it looks a little rough on the sides there, so I don't cover that. And I'm using wood glue, of course, to help everything stay together. And then we're going to use this Home Decor by Folk Art antiquing wax. And this time I craft smarter. I definitely water this down and I use it with a brush, and it works perfect. In fact, I think I did this right after I did the very first DIY, that tall shelving unit with the faux galvanized metal behind it and the little like birdhouse rooftop. I did it right afterwards because I had already, had it out and watered down. So I thought, oh, I better grab this little table and do it. Now I'm just taking the color Pavement by Apple Barrel Paint and adding some distressing along the edges to make it look like a real little farmhouse table. I absolutely love the way this came out, you guys. I'm still thinking about where I want to put it. Right now, I'm thinking the kitchen for my spices. I'd love to hear some input from you if you have some ideas. There's the measurements, by the way. That is the height, the width, and the depth that I'm showing you, just in case you want to recreate this. But that's it, you guys. For this craft, you're going to need a little window box from the Dollar Tree, a candlestick holder, like a pillar holder of your choice, and some craft sticks, and a little electric candle of your choice as well, or any centerpiece that you want to use. I chose a candle. And I just start off by cutting my craft sticks down so that they fit inside this window box, and then I'm going to go ahead and paint the whole thing white. Next, using these Dollar Tree little pearls that come in a package, I'm going to cut them out in strips, this time a little bit thicker. The last time I showed these in my video, I cut them out just single strand. This time we're going for the bigger strands because I want the texture on the side of this window box. Taking some hot glue, I'm going to go ahead and glue that on the top. This is a lightweight craft, so I'm just using hot glue. If you want a more permanent hold, go ahead and use a more permanent glue like an E6000, but for what I'm doing, this is just fine. And I paint the whole thing white. And lastly, well, it's not last, but next we're going to do the LED candle from the Dollar Tree, and we're just going to decorate that up a little bit and give it a little bit more festivity. I'm using the Dollar Tree burlap ribbon to glue it around the center, and then I'm going to take the red gingham print ribbon from the Dollar Tree and do the exact same thing. Keeping this in theme with the first craft I made, I'm going to use another one of the Dollar Tree wooden stars. I love those. Glue that in the center, and then I'm just going to take some of the Dollar Tree florals, cut them up, and go ahead and place them around the bottom of the candle. These make such quick and easy festive centerpieces for your table. I absolutely love the way it came out. Going to need one of the smaller Dollar Tree stovetop burner covers. I love that rooster, it's so cute. And some rope. I use sisal rope and some masking tape. I love sisal rope over the jute twine because they tend not to treat it with any oils or chemicals, and so it's a very natural thing to work with. I mean, it actually smells like sweet hay when you're working with it, and it's not great for every project, but it works for almost all of them. So here I am just starting to twirl it, and I always twirl my rope a little bit in my hand first before I put it down in that center glue. It kind of helps it get started better, and you don't burn your fingers that way because it's a bigger circle when you put it down on your first dot of glue. And you can see what I've been doing. I covered this burner top, I think that's what it's called, burner top, with masking tape first. And for those of you that have watched my previous videos, I use masking tape because it's cheaper, it doesn't leave stickiness on my scissors. I've been using it since the 1990s to make, you know, a more adhesive surface, I guess, for hot glue to stick to, because it doesn't always like to stick on metal and glass. And I'm just going to burn off any little stray hairs here that are a bit too long. I'm using the stain from Amazon. It's a water-based acrylic stain. I mix it with a bit of black paint. It's marginally more slippery than brown paint, I guess, and it's, if you're interested, it's in a link in my description box. But if you don't have it, just use brown paint, no big deal. I just love it mixed with black. I think it makes a really pretty black walnut stain, and I'm applying it with a baby wipe. Now at first I think I just need 3 legs. I end up making 4 legs, and I'm using a wood called lath, L-A-T-H. It's $1.12 for 8 feet. So hot glue sticks really brilliantly to sisal rope. You don't need to use anything else. And for those of you that didn't notice, I did go down a little bit longer on the sides. I didn't just go the width of the metal. On the side it hangs down a little over 1 inch long so that the legs have something to stick to. You just glue the sisal rope on top of itself. I made this little cute stool for those of you that were totally in love with my wooden farmhouse chair that I made in a previous video, but maybe cutting up all that wood was a little bit too much for you, or you didn't have wood but you still wanted that cuteness in your house. And here it is, and it's totally cute. Again, functions like a 2-tier tray or a little shelf. You can put it on a tabletop, at the bottom of a fireplace mantle, in a corner, anywhere you want farmhouse charm. For this craft, you're going to need a picture frame of your choice. You can get one at the Dollar Tree. Some wooden beads or some Dollar Tree beads. This printable. And I'm using this paper that I got from Amazon. The link is also down below. And the link for that printable will also be down below. All my printables are down below in my description box, you guys. So if you ever see me using a printable, I usually 9 out of 10 or even 9.9 out of 10. I put them down below for you guys to do it too. Even if I get a Cricut, which I might get one day because I've been seeing some convincing alternative uses for them, I still will create a printable that will be available for you guys so that you can recreate it as well. So here's the foam board I cut out. I'm just now painting it a cream color. I started off doing primer because again we have that slippery gold surface and I didn't want any of that gold peeking out, but I decided I wanted this to be a creamy color, and that is a color I made there with the apple barrel paint in antique white. It's kind of a yellow color. I put about 1 inch in that bottle. It's a salad dressing bottle, and filled the rest up with white paint, and it made a perfect cream color. Now I'm going to take 4 of those little wooden beads there, set them aside, and I'm using the Dollar Tree glue stick, which I'm really pleased with as well because you have zero wrinkling with it and it really holds everything down beautifully. And this is going to be inside with glass on top anyway, so it's going to be held down, but in previous videos, you guys are probably getting tired of hearing me say it for those of you that watch me, but you get 8 for $1, and I just get so excited every time I think about that because it is such a good deal and they actually work. You know how you usually get cheap stuff and it doesn't work? These actually work really well. So I'm gluing these little legs on. I chose to leave them wood because of the darker paper that I chose. I thought it added a nice little tie-in for the look, and that's it. It is that simple. I love keeping these extra thick rolls for my heavyweight foil. They are great for DIYs. Like, they are super, super strong. I'm showing a utility knife here, but I end up cutting it with a saw because it was just too thick. There's the approximate measurement for those of you that would like to see that in case you want to recreate this. These are a little bit thinner than the standard paper towel rolls, so just keep that in mind. Paper towel rolls are too thick and they're not strong enough either. You need that center roll from the heavyweight foil. I have 3 of these Dollar Tree wooden boxes, and I'm just going to go ahead and give them a coat of white paint. Now I'm taking the Dollar Tree large craft sticks. I'm just cutting off the very tip where it starts to curve so it's nice and straight. It's because, of course, I don't want to just have cardboard there. Even if you paint it, you can kind of see that line on it. So I'm going to cover these with some craft sticks. If you're really good at painting and dry brushing and disguising stuff, you could paint it. You could also watch my video on DIY birchwood and use that method and make them look like birchwood in the center. That would be really pretty too. But for this DIY, I decided to cover them with craft sticks. I'm going to go ahead and paint the craft sticks with a coat of white chalk paint as well. These are some silicone molds I got from Amazon. They are great for making these little decor pieces and accents, but in order to have a successful outcome with the hot glue, you really do need to push the tip of your hot glue down into those tiny little crevices, those little small ones. Just stretch the silicone out, press your glue gun down and squirt. You can also put them in an oven and heat them up that way till the glue's melted if you want to make sure it gets into all the crevices. But either way, when you pull them out, you are going to have some cleanup work, and it's easily handled with some sharp scissors. And well, I used cuticle clippers, sharp scissors, and the glue gun to remelt off little areas where, like, the clippers couldn't reach inside a circle area where there was a thin membrane of hot glue. I would push my glue gun through that area, and it really quick because it's super thin. In fact, you don't even have to touch it. Sometimes you just hold it close and it melts, and you move really quick so that you don't change the shape. But that's how you go about cleaning this up, and they come up absolutely beautiful when you're all done. I'm using the color Elephant Gray from Apple Barrel Paint, and I'm just dry brushing it around the edges and leaving the center white so it creates that nice cloudy look. I'm also leaving the middle of these wood because I love that they're real wood and I love that that shows. And of course, I go ahead and do some dry brushing on the centerpieces as well. I'm going to use this metallic paint by Faux Art in sterling silver to paint my little molds. And then I gave them a quick blow dry so that I could glue them on the front of my boxes. I am using a hot wood glue by Bonder. It's down below in my description box, but I have to say that because this is cardboard to wood, it's like wood to wood, it stuck super hard, like you cannot move these. So make sure if you're making adjustments with the trays, you're doing it while your hot glue is still wet and liquidy, because once it sets up, you're not going to be able to change it. So you can see here how I'm turning it, and I recommend you do the same thing because I had to make quick adjustments. You can see right there, just to make sure it's even from all four sides. For the top box, I decided to do it a little bit differently. I decided to glue it first down in the middle, that way I was sure it was in the middle, and then glue that to the second box so that I could make the adjustments in the front, back, and sides, and it worked out really, really good that way. It came up perfectly even for all three trays. This is what it looks like when it's all together, and it is very sturdy. I just want to let you guys know that. You can store heavy stuff in this. It does not move, and it's pretty heavy too. My daughter's using it on her vanity for her makeup. I'm taking some white paint and just dry brushing the front of those little molds to make them look frosty, and then just tapping some of the Faux Art metallic paint in copper on the front, and that's it. This came up absolutely stunning. She loves it. I love it. Highly recommended craft. I hope the camera does it justice. And I'm using now the 1 gallon regular paint sticks, and I left that in the wrapping. That's a nice trick, and I cut it with the wrapping on. It kind of holds it nice and, you know, clean. You see people tape them together, but don't take them out of the package if you have to cut all of them and you know you're going to cut them. And they cut to about 9.5 and 9 inches depending on what brand you use. I really hesitate giving measurements because I have found that paint sticks are not all created equal. Some are a little wider, some are a little longer, but more or less roundabout, give or take 9.5 inches. So I ended up using 13 1-gallon stir sticks. That's how big I wanted my tray, and I found it was best just to cut both sides and one end only until the very end of the project. That way, if you have to make some adjustments, sometimes the end, the final piece you put in isn't going to match the other end measurement, and you'll find that out because maybe you didn't cut the wood perfect, like the little planks perfectly straight. There's little variances, so just trust me on that one. You want to wait until you have it all kind of put together by just laying the sticks down and then getting the measurement that way before you make your final cut. So I'm using the little towering wooden blocks as my base because I do want my tray to have that nice edge that looks really high-end and expensive. And I'm using wood glue, and I'm purposely putting the wood glue, as you can see, along the edge so it kind of drips down and holds this like where the seam is for all of the wood. So it's going to be on the planks that I'm putting in right now, and then it's also going to be holding the thicker 5-gallon paint sticks together with and I hope that all makes sense. I kind of placed it on purpose so it's holding every single bit of that wood with the wood glue, so we have that really strong, durable hold. And I'm using some more towering wood blocks for the legs here. Surprisingly, those looked the best. I tried some different options and that just fit perfect for the look I was going for. And here's a trick I used at Christmas, you guys. I got a lot of positive feedback from you. You could use a Dollar Tree cutting board. I don't have any real handles. If you have some metal handles, that would be great. I can't find any of the Dollar Tree faux leather. You guys, I wish I could. My Dollar Tree is so lame. No faux leather ribbon, so when I can't find it, I dupe it. And surprisingly, these containers work fabulous for faux metal. They're amazing. You should go back and look at my melt can. I made a melt can at Christmas and it is the best faux handle I've ever seen on a melt can, so in my opinion. But that came as a surprise, you guys. It was a total last minute, like, I'll try this, and it worked so good. So I cut out some faux handles that I'm going to put on just for decoration. You know, we're not really going to be lifting the tray with the handles, but it looks really fashionable right now, and I wanted to do that. And now I'm just using some Craft Smart acrylic paint. Love that paint. It's one coat just to cover everything up. And here I'm using primer, the Kills primer, to paint these. Big mistake. I should have taken them outside to spray paint them with white primer. It would have been so much easier. It was, you know, I got the job done, but it was way harder than it needed to be. So spray paint it if you have the white spray paint in, you know, primer. And I decide where I didn't get the measurements just perfect. I was just being really picky, you guys. I do add some spackling in there just to fill it in, to even it out, because I just want the tray to look really expensive. And I'm using a baby wipe there just to kind of clean it up. And now I'm going to use this water-based acrylic stain, which I have also spoken about before in previous videos. And this, with a little bit of water and a baby wipe and a brush, I kind of use both methods again, but this has a much better glide factor on painted dry wood. It wasn't, when I say glide factor, it means it's slippery and it just kind of slides, and a little bit goes a long way. So I decided to save my precious antique wax for when I need that. For raw wood, I think I'm sticking with the water-based acrylic stain. It's kind of slimy. Last minute decision here was to do 2 coats, but just on every other plank, to give it a super cute little pattern. It looked so pretty. I was kind of inspired from something I saw on Pinterest. It was in gray and white, but I love the way that this tray came out. And now I'm taking this faux hammered copper spray paint. Boy, if you don't have a collection of metal spray paints, get some, you guys. It makes all the difference. And I sprayed those handles, and the camera does not do them justice. They look just like metal. They came out awesome. And I'm showing you this up close because I'm using those little Dollar Tree pearl beads again that I painted black. But I'm showing you that, see, when it goes wrong and you think you've got all the hot glue everywhere and you're going, oh no, oh no. Watch how I go ahead and clean this up. I'm holding it steady with my finger, but I have these little thin tiny tweezers. I recommend tweezers for crafting too, for fine details, because it makes the difference. It makes things look real and expensive versus fake. But watch how I just lift that glue up and take it off, and voila, we have a super clean finish. And this is it. And I love this tray. I used one of the Dollar Tree wooden trays. I love these little trays for crafts. I think they are so fun and festive and easy to just do so many different things with them for the holidays, for all year round. Now I am making family and friends Christmas crafts this year, so I'm doing a mix of farmhouse and traditional Christmas, so there's more choices for you guys as well. And I go ahead and I do that fire engine red on this tray, and I paint the bottom of it as well, because this is one of the ones I'm going to be giving away for, to my family. So first of all, I take the stencils from the Dollar Tree and I cut them because they come in a long, one sheet, and it was just too hard for me. It wasn't fitting in there, and I always end up cutting them apart, you guys, because otherwise I can't really space them out. And as you can see, I'm using pencil. I also tend to use stencils to trace really lightly with pencil so that I can erase and make adjustments, because every single time I try to stencil with paint, I always make a mistake and make the letters either too far or too close together. I do not know how these amazing gals do that on YouTube. I have seen them do it, and I'm like, if anyone has a trick, please put it in the comments, because I don't know if there's something wrong with my vision or my depth perception, but I always mess up. So I always take stencils and trace them with a pencil and then fill them in. So now I'm taking some deco tape from the Crafter's Square at Dollar Tree. You can use any tape you want, but I decided that the handles would be so cute with some candy cane stripes. So that's what I'm going to do right now. And here it is, super cute.